Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome an accomplished professional from Mumbai, India, Mr. Manoj Gursahani. Manoj, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ashutosh.
Manoj is a networking guru. He's an author, a global strategist, a business coach, and has written a book titled The Business Connect, and we'll talk about that. He's also the co-founder of a healthcare company under the name Vera Healthcare. So, Manoj, before we talk about your book, tell me about your own journey in brief.
Certainly. Small just correction. It's called the Human Connect.
The human
Not the
connect.
Business
My
Connect. The human.
apologies. Okay.
Okay. No. So my business journey is I've been from the age of 25 being a serial entrepreneur.
Uh-huh.
I actually started one of the first online travel portal in the country. It was called Travel Mart India, way before the big boys came in and exited, maybe sometimes to my liking when I look back too early. And then I built a medical transcription company, medical billing company, which we used to do mainly for the US market year over year. And then did a couple of other gigs, etc., till I wanted to go, full time in a consulting mode.
Okay.
And now, of course, I'm sure you're going to be asking me about my current thing is I consult with a lot of companies in terms of strategic consulting, because I also work with 30 countries, the consulates and the commercial sections to connect businesses within India and overseas. And, I facilitate that. And my passion lies in a firm which you mentioned about Vera Healthcare, which if you're going to talk to me in detail, we'll discuss that. And the last but not the least, one of the things I do run for charity is called a foundation called Indian Relief Foundation, where I'm the managing trustee, and we have set up a medical daycare center in the outskirts of Mumbai.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So let's first talk about your book, The Human Connect. And it's a book which is for networking and building relationships. So my first question, Manoj, is how would you define networking in today's world?
Very interesting question, Ashutosh. So I will so the book itself is named The Human Connect. I did not call it networking. So I'll tell you what, my whole thing, and this is how I live my life, okay? So the networking is currently, and in the Western world, and there's nothing wrong with it, is very transactional. Okay, Ashutosh has called me for the show. What does one expect? So it's, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. But my philosophy of networking is it's in giving that you receive. So the moment you start, and it cannot be fake, it has to be internalized.
Right.
So the moment you start looking at life and saying, okay, this guy, whoever you meet in life, you start listening. So I mentioned about listening skills. So if you listen better, you're already respecting the guy. You're looking at his, so most of the times now when we speak to somebody, you're looking at your mobile phone, it's very disrespectful. So eye contact. So these are the way you build the human connect. And when you listen, so for example, Ashutosh, tomorrow you mentioned my niece, whoever is looking for an internship. I'm just taking that as an example. And in XYZ, she's done a financial, and all I have to do is if I can tell you, Ashutosh, I believe you have that, and can you send me a bio? And I will put in my effort to connect you. Not that you asked me, but I'm volunteering. So that builds the connect. And the other way of networking is, oh, I met Ashutosh. Next day morning, I'll send him 5 good morning messages. And third day, I'll ask him, Ashutosh, can you get me on your show? So that's a human disconnect. So it's in, and once you start giving, my networking philosophy is, and from the heart, you're building a connect. And once you build a connect, unlimited doors can open for you.
Amazing. Thank you. And based on all the work that you have done, what are some of the common networking mistakes you have seen people making? And how can they avoid them?
So I would not say networking mistakes. I would say what are the challenges? So one is, as I said, very transactional. Second is, I think when we meet people, it is more of quantity. So, and I am guilty of doing the same thing. When I was earlier, much younger, let's say I'm going to a exhibition or a conference and I have 100 people. I used to give my cards to every of the 100 people without connecting, without having a conversation. Now I know where all the cards went in the dustbin because I did not make a connect. So one of the mistakes is quality versus quantity. So if you are in a room of 150 people, wherever you are, in whichever, or 1,000 people, think if you can make 5 meaningful conversations and 2 meaningful connects which you can keep in touch with. So I think quality is important over quantity. Have a conversation. I've seen people who will come to me and while I'm talking to somebody and say, "Oh, mera card le lo." I mean, you're not even so. What happens to the card? I have a left pocket and a right pocket. In my left pocket, all the cards which have no meaning, I don't even look at it. I junk it out.
Mm.
And imagine today we're having a conversation. The next step is connect on LinkedIn, stay in touch. Another thing is when you meet people and whom you want to stay in touch is connect within the next 48 or 36 hours, 48 or 72 hours. Send us gentle message. If it's a mobile, mostly everybody has a mobile number, gentle message that listen, it was nice to be in touch with you. Let's stay tuned.
Mm.
What other people make mistake is when you meet somebody and all the WhatsApp university, he keeps sending gyans, political, religious, good morning messages. I think that's a big no.
Mm.
So I can go on and on, but these are few
Oh, these are
fundamentals.
great pointers. Thank you. And Manoj, how can one balance personal and professional aspects in any relationship or a network?
Again, I feel as long as you have clarity of mind, so you need work-life balance. Okay.
Mm.
So I'll give you example. I have 3 daughters who are all working professionals. Okay. So I tell them while you're working, and that's how the youngsters are, right? So they will, some of them don't. Some of them are only locked in onto the screens because of the work they do, and they don't go out and they don't. So I feel it's a internal thing that there has to be a work-life balance wherein you come out in terms of doing your work, balance it out of whether you're going for a dinner or you're meeting friends, etc. So I think it's more of a mindset to have a work-life balance, and you have to be conscious about it. You
Right.
can't have and like in the Western world, uh, weekend it's a no. You just take it off and things like that. So I think so either you're a professional or you're a working individual or you're a consultant, whichever way, I
Mm.
think work-life balance, number one, and two, growing beyond your company. So let's say somebody is working in healthcare. So it is important to go beyond healthcare and look at other facets and read about it, listen to podcasts, etc. So that makes you having a more student of life mindset. And the more you read and the more you are aware, you become an interesting person. So I don't
Mm.
know whether I answered your question
No, you
directly, but
have, you have,
that's the kind of thing. Yeah,
you
sure.
have.
Yeah.
And therefore, my follow-up question, and you covered this partly earlier also, is given the amount of digital networking that is going on, and so much dependence on likes and shares, how has digital networking transformed traditional networking practices?
So very interesting. So I'll tell you, uh, digital networking has its role, but at the same time, our youngster generation, Z, whatever we call them, the entire younger generation, and I think it's very important to cover that because I think people who view your, very popular, the brand called you, also would be a large number of digeratis and especially the younger generation. So we also spend a lot of time on Insta, especially the youngsters, and LinkedIn and dating sites, etc., whatever they do. But I think we just get carried away by the likes. And I'll give you the negative facets of digital, and I'll come to the networking part where we tend to get carried away. Oh, a friend started with us in college. Now he's in Hawaii holidaying, and I'm in Mauritius or I'm in some beach in India. So everybody puts their best foot front. Okay. There is also cyberbullying digitally. We know all that.
Mm.
So I feel if you're using it from a networking perspective, you met somebody and you then connect on LinkedIn. Okay. Facebook is more friend kind of thing.
Mm.
Or your friend on Facebook is doing something which, let's say, you're looking for, again, a job in a pharmaceutical company. And you know somebody on Facebook when they're putting it, they're doing something there. Then you can connect them on Facebook and say, listen, can we have an offline conversation?
Mm.
Can I have your cell phone number? Can I connect on LinkedIn? So I think digital networking, while you're there, you might have 1,000 friends, but meaningful connects are only 10.
Mm.
So you have to understand, and also things like Facebook and all that are more, if you use it smartly, you can share what you're doing in your professional life, and I tell every youngster this, it is you're leaving a digital footprint for whatever you put up. So
Mm,
sometimes when we are upset, we put up some quotes, etc., or
mm,
we bitch about somebody. I think that's don't react immediately,
mm,
respond. So you have to be very diligent when you are consuming digital network or you are sharing some things on the platform. So if used intelligently, the world is open. Like, today, why are we only restricting to Facebook? And look at WhatsApp, look at the apps we use, that is for consumption. But
correct.
I'm saying digital network A has its great, because that's, look at the kind of YouTube influencers currently are.
Mm,
If you're an influencer, how do you use it? Like you're using a podcast so beautifully to connect with people and then reaching out to a community. So I think it has its pros and cons, but one does not have to get carried away and use it diligently to one's advantage.
mm. Great response. Thank you. And a follow-up question from that, Manoj, is that how important is it to diversify one's professional network? I've often seen this with friends in the corporate world that, their whole life revolves around their colleagues. And the day they either leave or they retire, that whole network collapses. I'd love your perspective.
So it's a fabulous question. I think diversification is the key. I
Mm,
call it plan A, plan B, plan C.
right.
In today's VUCA world, there is
Mm,
no plan A which works for us.
mm,
We are living in very uncertain time. Suddenly, some large company, startups, wherever, and again, I don't know your viewership, because I'm sure large number of youngsters, startup also follow you.
mm,
So I believe diversification is important. At the same time, do not, again, depending on what age you are, at the same time, you should not diverse and spread yourself so thin that your core bread and butter business or job, all that is compromised.
mm,
At the same time, have a plan B, plan C. So you could be working Monday to Friday in a job, but weekend you could be an influencer.
mm,
Okay. So I'm saying diversification is very important to, I know many filmmakers, for example, they make films, but they also do ad films on the side.
mm,
Okay. So it's in this diversification, it's the same mainstream. But you look at COVID and other things, there was no work available for the media and entertainment industry. But those who diversified, those who use their influence and things like that. So I believe I call it the side hustle. Side hustle is very important in
mm,
today's life.
mm. Well said. Well said. Manoj, next question is, what role does an understanding of culture play in networking, especially in
So
very diverse environments like we live in India as well?
very, very important. So one has to be culturally sensitive.
Mm,
And I'll tell you one thing, when we are meeting old college friends or we are in a group of people and we talk, one of the cultural sensitivity I say is, please don't discuss about religion and politics. I'm first starting with that.
mm,
Because what happens in a very polarized world, which we are living with, many people tend to give their opinion,
mm,
okay? And they're very passionate about it.
mm,
And each and him and her are entitled to their opinion,
mm.
but don't share it and don't wear it on your sleeve. You're
Correct.
intelligent enough, and so I think that is the biggest factor, because your childhood friend, I've seen WhatsApp group of colleges and school getting destroyed because of an opinion.
Mm,
People are so also, please understand, people are getting very sensitive about the whole thing, because we are living, and I'm sorry to sound little, in a very fragile eggshell world.
mm,
You are waiting to burst out, you're waiting to, so I think if you play it well, what do people want? And I'm going to give you a different answer. In the cross cultural, the
mm,
basic thing is, again, love, understanding, not responding, listening to somebody. If somebody has a problem, tell them I'm available for a call. It cuts across all cultural language barriers, and
mm,
today, and especially if you're living in wherever. So that common thing of caring, connecting with people, talking to people, and telling them, irrespective of uh, caste, creed, religion, etc., your friends, what can we do? Because you're living, and I always say, for people who are at workplace, they're living 70% of their lives at their workplace. Okay. And now, if the work culture is toxic, people, I know youngsters I speak to and I mentor, they say they're getting great salary packages, money hits the bank on the first of the month every month, but the work culture is toxic.
mm,
So I will leave that place. I said, no, you cannot leave, because people are the same all over the world. So
Right.
how are you certain that wherever you go next? So I'm saying instead of that, suppose you have a problem or whatever else it is, be nice. You be nice. You
Mm.
internally, because most of the time, we are, again, I'll say, culturally, it's not about language, nothing. It's about sensitivity. It's
Mm.
about, oh, you can't say, oh, the South Indians are like that or North Indian. That is being too, we've
Correct.
been sometimes conditioned. I'm saying we are global citizens living in a global world. Think
Absolutely.
like that, and especially also when you're working with MNCs and you're working with a multinational, understanding how the French would work, they're
Mm.
more reticent, how the UK people would work, how the US. So is that, and today everything is available on the YouTube,
Mm.
awareness. Again, here, awareness, student of life attitude, curiosity.
Mm.
Once you do all that, and people talk, and there are so many things to talk about, right? In today's world,
Right.
people are, so I'm saying that's my kind of cultural sensitivity.
Very well said. So, Manoj, one more question relating to your book, and then we'll move to your healthcare company. What advice would you give to someone who feels too much of an introvert to network effectively?
I think I get this question very often, Ashutosh, and
Mm.
I should tell you that you prepared your questions very well crafted. It. So introvert, so you can't change that, okay? But always I tell an introvert is listen, uh, it's a way of life. It's some people. You can't say, Abhi, why are you an introvert? Start. It's not that way. So I feel for an introvert, let's say he's stepping out or he's called. Most of the time, introverts will not accept an invitation. They'll say, come for a meeting or even house dinner. They will not go. I have seen introverts not even step out. They're in their own bedroom when there is a dinner in the house. They'll say, no, mom and dad. So I believe when you're going out for an introvert, it could be a buddy system. You
Mm.
start taking somebody along with you.
Mm.
If you're anxious and uncomfortable, so let's say you're going for a conference,
Mm.
and let's say it's a whatever, it could be any business meeting or a musical concert you're going to. First time you want to go out and there are meeting people. So what introverts generally do, they will now, the biggest escape is they will go stand in a corner and use their mobile phone and not even interact. They're
Mm.
immersed in this. It's not because they're using it, they're escaping because
Mm.
they don't like to talk to people.
Right.
But imagine if you are with one or two people, like-minded people, even if the whole world is there, if nobody they meet, I'm not expecting them to go out and say, hi, I'm so and so, I'm Ashutosh or Manu. But then they are the support system. You starting to talk, that gives you the confidence to meet more people. So if you're two or three, you will talk to four more people. So that's slowly confidence. And that if you keep on practicing, it's like when you want to do singing every day, you have to do riyaz. I'm
Mm.
not saying an introvert has to step out, but I think, and then trust me, I've seen some introverts moving out, and after they get the taste, they said, what the hell I was doing? Why was I
Mm.
not meeting people? You understand?
Mm.
So my advice or rather guidance or urging to them is please move out, not only for business. It's a okay world, it's a better world outside. If you are
Absolutely.
introvert, then you build anxiety, you're building
Mm.
with so much thing. Then nowadays you go into, so there are psychological aspects to it. So I'm just saying, go out, meet people, connect. It's not only about creating opportunity, it's about making friends. And I'll tell you another misnomer. We always feel we make friends while we are in schools and colleges.
Mm.
That is true. सबसे अच्छी दोस्ती, strong दोस्ती तभी बनती है. I agree.
Mm.
But beyond that also, trust me, and my daughters laugh at me. I don't want to give mine, but I'll tell you, I'm 63, but I
Mm.
still go out and meet people and make friends. It
Mm.
could be friends who like jogging, walking, trekking, whatever. But it might not be very close as your school college friends, but so move out, go into the world, embrace the world. It's initially challenging, come out of your comfort zone, the maximum learning will happen from there.
Absolutely. And before I move to the next project, I must mention you told me, Yuvraj, I'm 4 years older than you, and I still enjoy meeting a lot of people.
Yeah,
So
wonderful.
you're absolutely right. So, Manoj, let's talk about your rural healthcare organization, Vera Healthcare. Tell me, what is the background of the name?
Okay, so it's actually the name, we just made it Vera. Honestly, it sounded good, fashionable. So
Okay.
what is Vera
Why I
Healthcare?
asked you is because my wife's name is Vera, and it's spelled exactly the
Okay.
same Vera. So,
Interesting. So at least you will not forget the name.
uh,
Okay. So it all happened actually pre-COVID. So as I told you, I have a healthcare center, daycare center in the outskirts of Mumbai. So when I started studying healthcare, so though I'm not a medical person, my daughter is, she's an anesthetologist, and my son-in-law is a spine surgeon. So I studied from grassroots level that what are the healthcare problems. Now we have non-communicable diseases, we have communicable diseases, and what I realized, the doctors and the top specialists are available only tier one cities. Post-COVID, things have changed. Telemedicine has come in. You have a lot of point of care devices. You can set up an ICU at a home. So that all is evolved post-COVID. But when I look at the rural-urban divide, the number of doctors to patients, etc., it's a dismal thing. And even in the rural villages, there are primary healthcare center, then you refer them to a district hospital, then it goes to a tertiary healthcare center. So that's the way it is. It is not digitized, the data records are not digitized. And, God forbid, if you have an accident or some problem, you go to a hospital, again, they'll check whether are you diabetic or, blood pressure, etc. So your record history is not there. So I studied there more as a student. In the day of life, I have a team of medical doctors. Then I realized that, listen, hey, every problem has an opportunity. So the opportunity I realized is something to do with diabetes. Now, diabetes, India is the diabetic capital of the world. Okay. And many people, especially in rural area, उनको पता भी नहीं यार sugar level क्या है. They feel सब चलता है. And if you ever had chai, cutting chai, you'll see they have maximum sugar उसमें रहता है. So we don't realize it, and they need it because of the energy. So that chai will. So point is, fast forward, we realize diabetic is a big problem now, and through diabetes, and there is now something called as, which we all have, a retina in the eyes. And through the retina, we discovered we can check up not only diabetic. Through diabetes, there are other problems called diabetic retinopathy. There is glaucoma. There is age-related macular disease. These are all eye-related. Yeah. But the window is, if you are diabetic, then all these problems will occur at certain stage in life. Okay, number one. Then we realize through the eye, you can also look at cardiovascular disease. There are markers in the eye. By the way, and the latest study is through the retina, you can also get an early marker of Alzheimer's. Anyway, so having understood grassroots levels and seen how it's evolved and digital healthcare is evolved, we have created a platform, a cloud-based platform, where coming to its prevention is better than, So what do we do prevention? So we do healthcare camps with a device, which is called a fundus camera right now, which people use when you go to an optician, an ophthalmologist. They will check your eyes, not only for numbers, but the numbers is the front end where they look at refractive errors, what reading glasses, but retina gives you beyond that. So we build this platform. It's an AI-based platform where on a scan of the eye, without dilating the eye, we get image of the eye, the retina images is uploaded to the cloud. We get the answers in less than 5 minutes. Of course, we take the patient record, his age group, what is precondition, and a report is generated and given to the patient saying, on an individual, saying that, okay, you're okay, or you're stage 1 retinopathy, or you have diabetes, which you should control because it can lead to diabetic foot, etc., etc. So this is what we do as far as this is concerned, and we feel because it's digital, it's a scalable model. Now we are trying to also see how the fundus camera, which was earlier so large, is getting more compact, so that scalability is there. And we want to equip most of the primary healthcare centers and other, because when it's not dilated, people are okay to picture nikal do aankh ka chalta hai, moment any, and also when there is no medical intervention and medico-legally, we can scan. I can train my nursing assistant, or I can train my office boy to take out an image because he's not touching or he's not intruding any part. So that's a story of Azion Healthcare, and we are a platform. Azion Vera Healthcare. Yeah. We are a platform where we want to build this, and then maybe later on, and then you get statistics, dashboard, etc., etc. Plug in all the things. So I feel digital healthcare is the future, and at Vera, and we also registered our office in the US because we believe India, while it gives you a lot of data, it's a low paying market.
Mm.
Okay, the price points for, and we understand that because of the per capita income, etc. And here we want to do more screening at grassroots levels. Okay, both for the private and public sector, and in the US and other Western market, where also there is a huge gap between doctors available and all that, but that's largely insurance driven, so that will pay more. So this is our whole ecosystem. And by the way, we are saying our reports are always assisted intelligence. We are not saying, so we are saying a specificity, sensitivity, so and so, but we feel there's an issue. Why don't you see a specialist?
Well said. Well said. Great response. Manoj, on that note, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me about your own journey. Thank you for talking to me about your book, The Human Connect. I think I learned many new things from you on networking. I loved what you told me about how introverts need to go out and start mingling. I also loved what you told me about Vera Healthcare and all the great work you're doing for eyes of so many people, not just in India, but you're taking it outside India as well. Thank you for speaking to me and good luck.
My pleasure, Ashutosh. Do share the link with me after it's done. I'd love to share it with my community and tell them the kind of fabulous, podcast you did and the relevant questions you asked me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.